Hi, Concordance, and hi, everybody. Yeah, I wanted to call and say thank you, Concordance, for accepting um, one of my emails or contacts through YouTube. And you actually wrote a very wonderful article that addressed mammograms and cancer. And if nobody else has seen that, I highly recommend they do. He wrote an excellent article on his Concordance webpage, and it addressed basically just a lot of, well, I don't think you really tackled the pseudoscience and the bullshit that's being spout out by a lot of people these days, but you did just mention all the numbers using hard science, so I appreciate that, and so does my mom. So thank you,
Yeah,
sir.
I thank you. Well, you're welcome. I didn't want to turn it into, railing against pseudoscience if it was going to be informative for people. I tried to keep it as factual as possible.
Yeah, I noticed that. That's probably the smartest thing to do for now. Because I guess anybody can just come up with any random pseudoscience stuff, right?
Right.
Actually,
Norman, before you go any further,
yes,
there
sir.
is a rule in this show that if you come into brown nose one person, you've got to brown nose all of us. Otherwise, you get kicked. You can't just come and brown nose Concordance.
I brown
What
nosed
is
you guys.
that?
What he's actually asking for? What he's asking for is the brown nose DPR because I'm fine if DPR wants
No,
that.
don't brown nose me because I'll blush. Sorry, you had a second point. Let's move on to that.
Well, you're in black and white. I couldn't tell if you were blushing or not. I think this argument for God, the first time I ever heard anybody do an excellent job countering it was on the Atheist Experience with Matt Dillahunty. Somebody came up, I guess, with a variation of William Lane Craig's argument for God, because I believe William Lane Craig has 6 or 7 points for it that you must follow in that order for it to exist. Somebody came on with a variation. His name also happened to be Matt. It wasn't Matt Slick, but obviously he was using some of William Lane Craig's and Matt Slick's concepts. And the first question that was asked to Matt was, "Okay, do you believe that something can come from? Do you think it's possible? Sorry, it's so esoteric; it's hard to remember all this crap." He said, "Is it possible for something to come from nothing, or do you believe that? Do you believe it's impossible? Yeah, do you believe it's impossible for something to come from nothing?" And Matt didn't even blink. He just said, "I don't accept that premise at all." And it threw off the entire argument because he's saying the concept of nothing is an absolute. You won't be able to demonstrate that absolute for me. So therefore, why should I even consider it as part of my argument against you?
Is this a program? I think he was co-hosting with Tracy, and she made the point where you've never had a nothing to investigate or examine to be able to determine what.
It. That was exactly it. Like, how, show me a nothing, and then we'll work from there. But you can't demonstrate a nothing. It was a beautiful argument.
It was because the caller was trying to say, "Oh, don't tell me that vacuum is nothing because a vacuum's got these quantum fluctuations." And Tracy at that point turned around to the caller and said, "Well, okay, show me a nothing." And they said, "Well, I can't." And they said, "Exactly. So where are you going?" I remember it well. It is well worth watching. I'll add it in the description when these videos are posted on YouTube.
On the other hand, I think Sci-10 made a very good demonstration of nothing.
With his brain or lack thereof.
Boom. Headshot.
So what I think is really interesting about atheists debating people who are using the tag argument, if that is a universal argument for the existence of God, and with different variations, is that I was saying that atheist logic or the concept against the tag argument is just as sound and as strong as science itself. These people, all of you guys, so I'm brown nosing now, all of you guys, have a very strong, logically thinking brain that is able to break down and spit it right back in their face. I think it's come to the point where you can basically just have fun with it. I think Eric Hovind is one of the best debaters out there, believe it or not, because he can throw you off guard with an emotional response. As long as you can keep your cool, absorb it, break it down, and spit it back in his face, then hey, man, that's a good skill to have.
No, what do you think of the argument that basically all Eric is doing is playing word games, and he's got a script that he works to, and he does it for no better reason than to get footage for his next DVD or to try and throw you off guard. He's not interested in truth. It's a word game to him, isn't it?
It is a word game. It's not an argument at all, but he's trying to make it sound like an argument. I think if you compare, whenever you guys had Dave Silverman on, he was when he was talking about Bill O'Reilly and saying he's trying to suck you into his world and turn the conversation down one avenue versus the other, and dance to the beat of his drum. The real skill comes from just understanding that it is a game and have fun with it. It's not an argument at all to say that he's basically he is playing word games, but it's not an argument. It's not anything valid or something that can benefit your life one way versus the other. It's just a way of tricking you. But
what the point that I was seeking to make earlier on, if I didn't make it clear, I mean, for me, the main reason for having them on the show was to give people an experience of this sort of argument and the sort of counter argument they can have that they can come up with.
Yes, absolutely. I think that's important because you have to people like Eric have to test all the holes within your line of thinking. That without people like Eric, you wouldn't be able to actually strengthen your own resolve. I'm not saying that in a negative way. I'm just saying that most people don't think about these things, and that's a very that's a big problem today. I think people need to actually think about these so-called questions and word games and have a good answer for them. If Christians like Eric Hovind aren't prepared to give the answer, then at least we can.
But then going back to Thunder's point, I mean, Thunder a few moments ago was saying that this sort of argument is never going to convince or convert anyone.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing that strikes me about the argument is it's so outrageously childish. This is the sort of thing you would expect to get off, 5-year-olds, that I know absolutely that I'm correct, and no one else has this absolute correctness other than me.
It's childish. Yeah, you're right. It is childish, but like I said, you're only thinking of it as being childish because you spend most of your time thinking about it. I think there's a vast majority of the population, and I think you can agree, that would think that this is actually a very good argument, just because they haven't spent much time thinking about it.
It's possible that I'm detached from, but I can't think of anyone that I know.
No, absolutely. I've seen Saitan's videos where, he gets interviewed by, various Christian type people who, say, whoa. That's my favorite from the clip with Eric and Sai, is the two of them going back and forth, and then Eric goes, wow.
Yeah, Eric does a superb impression of the 5-year-old being impressed by the 7-year-old's argument.
Would you guys prefer to debate William Lane Craig after something like that? I mean, do you think that he's actually got a better grip on reality comparatively speaking?
Well, let me tell you what's happening on the next show, or hopefully is going to happen on the next show.
Yes,
the issue of William Lane Craig is something that several of the panel have been desperately eager to have as a topic for a show. We are going to...
I think desperate is overselling it deeply.
Well, okay, eager.
No, it's desperate.
We are going to invite William Lane Craig onto the show. Hopefully the next show. I fully anticipate that he will decline the invitation.